Hello. Hi, Libra. I just tried to retake that thumbnail like 4 or 5 times, and I was like, just go ahead and go with it. So I'm going with it. How are you? Doing pretty well. Going in and out of just questioning everything. Not even really that, just kind of like assessing things, right? There's always this assessment that's happening. This is going to be your April 2020 reading. Okay, I've done all the other cardinal signs. I was going to do you after Aries because normally I do the sign of the season that we're in, and then I do their opposite, and then I move on from there with the other two of the quality, and then I usually go in order. Oh, the Chariot. Wow. Okay, work. See, Cancer. Cancer actually came after Aries this time. Actually, they came before, because I did Cancer before Aries, actually. Just because, sometimes it's like that. Anyway, here we go. I said it was pretty good, right? The Chariot popped out. There we go. We got it. At the bottom, Temperance, okay? So let's keep the Chariot maybe as our little bonus card here, which is wonderful. And now I'm just going to lay them out. Our full moon is in maybe 2 or 3 days. I'm a Libra sun and rising. Okay? And if we were in Vedic astrology, I would have an exalted Libra or an exalted Saturn in Libra. Okay. As you know, I do go in between using exoteric, which is regular astrology that we all use, like Western, and then I'll go back and forth in like the esoteric meanings, right? Or just kind of like give a punctuation of the esoteric meaning, or not the meaning, but the influence. Anyway, I'm going to be using the Morgan Greer Tarot deck, and then I'm also using the Runes Oracle deck, and then I'm going to be using the Romance Angels Oracle deck by Doreen Virtue, and then I'm also going to use the Keepers of the Light Oracle by Kyle Gray. I've already looked at the chart for us. I'm a Libra rising, so I know what the houses are, and I already know where the planets are, pretty much, so I don't really need this, okay? Let's go. All right, so the Chariot. This is talking about moving forward. It also is talking about, the impulse to evolve or the impulse to change, okay? Because Cancer is a cardinal sign, and that's very much talking about the emotional impulse, yes, and it's talking about the place that we're coming from as well, because Cancer is the mother, and Cancer also rules the home, okay? So it's almost talking about venturing out or going outside of a place of security or comfort, or maybe feeling secure and comfortable within one's decision to now move forward, okay, with whatever that is. It has to do with, a relationship perhaps that maybe you're sort of like trying to leave behind. You're trying to put something behind you or put the past behind you. The Chariot and Cancer energy is very much associated with the experience and what has happened thus far, and what I might be thinking about or feeling that has already happened to me, and it's kind of like we do need to think about looking towards the future, and we do have to think about moving forward, so we aren't being, held back you know, restricted, right? Because it's that opposing energy of Cancer. Cancer doesn't want to be restricted, and sometimes our emotions can hold us back or restrict us, keep us in a place. You know, that's why Jupiter, that energy of moving forward and expansion and growth, is exalted in Cancer, because it really gives that sense of movement forward and evolution and change and growth and encouragement and all of that stuff. So this Chariot card is definitely encouraging you to move forward and achieve a level of balance, right? That it's going to be like and a level of balance will be achieved with this sense that you want to move forward and move past something, leave something behind you, right? You've learned, because the seventh house, right, Libra, which squares Cancer, we're about to have our full moon there, and it's very interesting because the moon rules Cancer. Anyway, um, it is talking about measuring. It is talking about knowing what really is. You know, the seventh house is very truth oriented, and the Chariot does talk about living your truth, right? Um, Being very focused on that, right? Because it's the impulse to live out your truth. Okay? Um, Yes. So we're going to go there with that. And it is also talking about wisdom and what has been learned. You know, it's kind of like I've learned from my past mistakes. I've learned from my past experiences and my relationships, you know, because we do have emotional attachments to our relationships, just like we have emotional attachments to the home. But we soon grow out of that feeling of needing to be so attached to our mother and be so attached to the home. Just like we learn to lose that codependency, which opposes Cancer, and also is very much a part of Cancer's reality, codependency. But we learn how to move away from that, you know, the home, the mother, you know, our foundations, right? What we learned from our parental units. You know, we then venture out and sort of like discover things and explore, right? We leave one reality and go into the next. That's Neptune being also exalted in Cancer. And that's good. It's freeing, and it's also kind of like you know, it gives you a new way to relate, you know, and that's what the Chariot also does. It's like, wow, I have a new way to relate to something that, you know, probably had its grip on me before, but now I've learned, right, the black horse, the white horse, that if I relate to it this way, if I change the way I look at it, or the way that I look at it has changed over time, maybe I had another experience that I could relate back to that, or that just resonated with some sort of, you know, healing functionality, right? Um, it's like consonantly these things happen, right? So you have these experiences and you learn, okay? And the Temperance card at the bottom of the deck for us really is talking about, you know, a rediscovery of oneself, right? So there's a lot of discovery that's happening here. And this is also just kind of like a realization. And a realization is almost kind of like a realignment, you know? So this Sagittarius Temperance is really talking about how am I going to realign myself, you know? Also, it talks about who am I now? Who am I again? Right? Um, it is also talking about being in two different places, because it is 14, and it's the awareness of the foundation, it's the awareness of where you come from, you know, and together it refers back to the Hierophant energy, which talks about your belief systems, okay? And it also is talking about confidence as well. You know, if your belief systems change, then your level of confidence is adjusted too, because your level of confidence is sort of like based on your belief systems, right? The belief in oneself. So if what I have changed If what I believe about myself has changed, then the confidence in myself has been adjusted or has been changed, or so there might have been like some sense of humbling here, right? So the Temperance card does to me talk about humbling situations, right? Oh, I'm in the middle of a humbling situation. I don't know how to deal with it. I gotta try to make it work for myself. I have no choice, because the fives talk about not having a choice. You're just gonna have to deal with this because it's meant to strengthen you, but spiritually, right? So it's almost kind of like a galvanized or a fortified um, personality, but also spirit, and also conscience, and also consciousness, right? Your consciousness has been strengthened just because you've experienced some adversity, you've experienced some level of, shake up, right? Um, and it does take it is risky to move away from an old version of yourself, right? But you're always projecting. You always have to make projections of where you feel like you want to go or where you can go. And if you're not setting any goals per se, at least you're getting somewhere and you're making progress because there are surprises, right? Sagittarius energy, and also even Cancer. Surprise goals that are achieved along the way, right? Which is encouraging, which that's what Cancer needs, that's what Libra needs, right? To some degree. And that's what Sagittarius needs for sure. And Leo and Taurus. They need to feel the encouragement so that they can keep going. Why am I doing this? What am I doing this for? Oh, I realized that like there was something else that I learned, and now I realize why I am here or why I am doing this or all of that. Okay, so let's look at this first card. Ooh, nice. Nine of Cups. Jupiter in Pisces in its rulership, right? We like that. And it's also a nine, which refers back to the ninth house of Sagittarius. But then it also goes back to that energy of the Hermit, which is Virgo, which opposes this. But then the Virgo house is squaring the ninth house, right? So we're dealing with how we see ourselves, right? And then we're dealing with our foundations and where we're coming from, the experience that we've had, right? How we've been affected by that experience, okay? And what we think we can do moving forward, or what we want to do to get away or escape from something that we no longer identify with because we would like to develop some part of ourself that experience that sees the growth, right? That sort of just kind of like um validates the and what am I saying? Okay, it's achievement, right? We want to know that there is a level of growth that has been achieved, right? So the Nine of Cups is like a wish card. It's kind of like these are the projections that I am imagining. This is what I am dreaming of, and it's kind of like you can actually see it because it is envisioning something, right? And the way you manifest something is to envision it happening over and over and over and over again. And the ninth house does talk about something that can intubate over and over and over and over again to just kind of like be something else. It's almost like it's learned that the energy of the nines has learned the theory of evolution, right? And being reborn over and over again through Scorpio, from that Scorpio energy, right? And Pisces is the third and last water sign after Scorpio, right? So there is this sense of like evolution and knowing, just because it's very clairvoyant in that way, that I am getting somewhere, and something is going to be achieved. I do still have to just keep this level of encouragement and confidence about myself. It's not even like false hopes. It is hope. It is optimism. Venus is exalted in Pisces. It's a benefic, but then this is a 9, so it's even more benefic, right? And it does talk about a sense of success that is already foreseen. It's kind of like deja vu, right? But on a deeper level, because that's just kind of like, oh, I'm feeling like. But this is kind of like I'm foreseeing this, you know, and that's great. You have to visualize success in order to, feel gassed up, right? in getting there, you know. It's kind of like you are what you eat. Wow, this is amazing. What's crossing you? I did say that Venus was exalted in Pisces. What's crossing you is, or us, is the Empress. Okay, that's wonderful. We love that because it's Venus. Okay, it's a 3, right? Venus is now in Gemini, which is the 3rd house. So that talks about creativity. It talks about, things growing. It talks about growth, right? So there's a level of growth that has been achieved here, and it's probably something that a lot of people can't see, unless they might be close to you. And the Empress card does talk about, you know, connections that are intimate, you know, for sure. But at the same time, it talks about your environment, making the best out of your environment, getting the most out of your environment, right? Because those are two similar things, right? If not the same, one and the same. But it's creativity. And it's also achieving a level of balance, right? And poise and grace due to your knowledge and your skill, right? Because the 3rd house and the Empress and Venus are talking about knowledge and skill, right? That has been fostered through making connections and being able to relate. You know, Venus is actually a sacred planet, right? Language is sacred too. We have to remember that as well. All of the scriptures, all of those things are written in languages. Okay? And people relate through that. People relate through religion. Taurus is in the Empress card. People relate through language, right? Oh, if I can speak, oh, I don't know what I was gonna say. If I can speak gymnastics, if I can speak, and I was gonna say Gemini. If I can speak Japanese, and you can speak Japanese too, wow, we can relate, right? Especially if we come from 2 different cultures that are like not Japanese. Wouldn't that be amazing? Connections. Um, So it is talking about that, and that helps us achieve a sense of balance between us relating, because it's kind of like we understand something to be sort of like harmonized, right? And you're talking about, we understand what it is that we have to offer. We understand what it is that we have to bring to the table for ourselves, not just for others, because it's crossing the 9, right? And the 9 is really talking about it's one of self discovery, right? And these things were already there, right? Those things were already there. It's just kind of like you have a new appreciation, right? Because the 3s are talking about the appreciation of something as well. And so are the 5s, okay? The 7s to a degree. And the 9s, they go beyond that, right? They're beyond the point of appreciating something. They're trying to get to something because they know what the meaning behind it is. So they already appreciate it. So it's like, that's why this Jupiter in Pisces being a wish card, it's like you appreciate what you're forecasting, where you're seeing yourself going, because it's good. So you don't have to be convinced or taught or shown that it's good. You know it is, and that's what you want to do. You see what I mean? So we're doing good, okay? Doing good, okay. What am I saying? We're doing good so far. First card was a pop out Chariot, right? Great. New way to relate. Moving forward. Leaving the past behind you. Smarter, right? What's that Daft Punk song? Faster, Stronger, that one. Uh, I know that most of you probably know it to be a Kanye West song, but I know it to be a Daft Punk song, and then a Kanye West song that sampled it from Daft Punk. And then the Temperance card is at the bottom of the deck here, right? Which is talking about, very intimate self-discovery. Mm-hmm. And on a very spiritual level here. This is amazing. Our fifth house is Aquarius. What's about to happen in our fifth house? What's going on in our fifth house right now, right? Mars is there, Saturn is there. Pretty soon Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn are going to be there. Saturn are going to be there all together. So there's going to be, like I said, self discovery. After the eighth house comes the ninth house. So we've already realized that there's a desire to change and transform, right, and to heal as well. Okay, so there's all this healing that's taking place. I love it. Because the Temperance card, spiritual healing. The Chariot, definitely that as well. Emotional healing, but it's in a really driven way, right? Right? It's like I'm past the healing. Like I've realized that I've healed. Okay, and it's like, yes, and now I feel the energy to move forward with the healing, right? And the Empress is like, yes, I can heal myself, right? And then the Nine of Cups, Pisces, talking about healing too. Anyway, let's look at the past. Wow, this is ridiculous. Because I was talking about, the Hierophant, and anyway, the Hierophant came up in the past. It's 5. So it's Taurus, and then it's also related to, the fifth house for me. That's how I read it. But a Hierophant is talking about, like I said, those belief systems, where you come from, you know, your emotional attachments to what you have relied on as well. Okay, your state of consciousness, right? Or your conscience. That's what I'm saying. Your conscience, yours. Not like a state of consciousness that you have connected to everybody. But it does go there. It does go there because the moon is exalted in Taurus. And the moon knows what it is to provide, Providence, to provide for itself and for others, right? So that's why the moon is exalted in Taurus. But this does talk about things changing due to the moon, right? Due to growth, patterns of growth, challenges that you experience, that sort of insight, those patterns of growth, initiation too. Because the Hierophant, it does talk about initiations. Isn't marriage an initiation? This is Libra. So yeah, that job. So in the past, we could be dealing, for some of you, we're dealing with a lot of Libras here, right? So the Hierophant, we could be dealing with job oriented things. We could be dealing with familial oriented things, okay? Or you could be dealing with just personal things. And all of those things affect you personally. Your family affects you, what they're going through affects you. Your job, what your job is going through affects you. Your spouse, what they're going through affects you. What you're going through is affecting you and other people too. Right? Moon exalted in Taurus. So it's kind of like, everything has sort of been affected right now, and you're unable to ignore some things, and that's great. You know what I mean? We're not really trying to ignore anything at this point. Not with the Chariot, the Temperance, the Empress, the Hierophant. Is nothing. Is You're not trying to ignore anything. You're looking at everything for what it is. You're trying to understand the meaning behind things, so that you can you can access the meaning, right? And then you experience the level of growth through accessing the meaning, you know. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at the okay. I felt like this card was gonna come up. Venus and Virgo. Right now the moon is in Virgo tonight. And this is a 9, so it's related to the Hermit. And it's also related to the moon. Because the moon is 18 and that is reducing to a 9. On a deeper level, we are dealing with the moon here because of this 9 energy. So they're saying that something is being discovered, and the self, because the moon is very much, about the self. It's a personality thing. It's an instinct thing. Okay? It's almost very primitive, right? It's one of the most primitive because it's one of the closest planets that we can see to the Earth. And the moon has been very um, instrumental in the formation of the Earth. I mean, and just kind of like how the Earth responds and reacts to things. The moon is very much involved. Okay, so Venus and Virgo here is saying that like it's self-involved, right? But it's kind of like if I want to experience the balance and the harmony and the peace in my life, I'm going to have to bring a focus to the self and start to just kind of like value the self more. Because then when you start valuing yourself more instead of focusing on how you value others and showing them through your expressions how you value them, then it's kind of like, you know, you're actually tending to your own garden, right? It's like your flowers aren't dying, your grass isn't brown. You know what I mean? It very much is like tend to your own garden, Venus and Virgo, right? But Virgo is very service oriented, right? So when I am good, then I can go out and help other people. Or then I can go out and like experience other people. But this is kind of like a moment right now because this is in the sun position. We're in a moment of making sure that we're good. You know what I mean? I have been thinking I wanted to get like a fish or like a little snake or something, but I don't know. I'm gonna really have to think about that because this does talk about pets too, right? And just feeling more connected to like animals. Because some of us could be feeling just more connected to animals, right? That's what it does talk about. The Empress is very much that. Look at her. She's in nature, right? Okay. But yeah, the Nine of Pentacles also talks about job-oriented things, success in that, right? Because there's a focus and there's a need and there's an attention to detail when it comes to money, finances, and processing things. So we're looking at making phone calls, talking to people, processing data and information in order to achieve something to get to a certain level, right? Or to get to a certain status here with this Venus and Virgo being here in this 9, right? We want to know that things are being managed properly, and we might just have to, just do some things over, go over some things, right? And remember, write some things down so that you can get them, process them in order, process them in order. I'm getting that type of thing. And Venus and Virgo is talking about being self-reliant as well, right? Because the moon is very much the self. The ninth house is very much talking about the self, right? You have to understand, okay, and learn from how the sanctity of self, or the sacredness of you, that type of thing. And also the appreciation, because so you have to learn to appreciate yourself more too. You have to give yourself more credit, right? Also, for sure. You know, I'm not saying that you need the validation of other people giving you credit and you being like, oh yeah, no. It's like you have to give yourself that. Ooh, me too. Yes, Kimchi Bay. I love it. So let's look at the moon. We've been doing all this talk about the moon and everything like that, and it really has like, bam, 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 been reflected a lot here. Oh, and here it is again, reflected a lot. In the moon position, Two of Pentacles, right? Referring back to that High Priestess energy. Being sensitive. You know, we're sensitive to our restrictions right now. We're having to kind of like be flexible within rigidity. You know, it's like, whoa, like how am I supposed to make this work and feel good about making it work when you just took away all of this and you left me with this. You know, but it's not about complaining at this point because it is a reality, right? And you're learning from the reality. You're being flexible. You're having to shift and change and adapt, right? You're still getting to where you're going. You're starting to see changes anyway. You know, even within the challenges, there is still balance that's being achieved. There are still connections that are being made. There is still something that is working. You know what I mean? Okay, and the sun and the moon are both pentacle related or pentacle cards, right? So we're dealing with finances, we're dealing with time, management of time, you know, budgeting the money, you know, processing those that sort of like paperwork so that you can like take advantage of beneficial things, you know, that the government is providing for people, right? Because this is the Two of Pentacles. That's Jupiter in Capricorn. Jupiter's in Capricorn right now. Capricorn rules government. Jupiter is talking about giving to everyone, right? This is a two, which goes back to the High Priestess. She's a two as well. That's Pisces. Pisces is also ruled by Jupiter. Okay? So do that. Take advantage of those things that are being provided to you so that you can better manage your finances and so that you can, you know, receive, because that is very much a card about receptivity. How are you receiving what is actually occurring and that is kind of being changed and moved and adjusted for your benefit, right? Okay. So just see it for what it is and like take advantage of that shit. Um I have not chosen a runes card here, but yeah, let me go ahead and shuffle them and choose one for us. You know, there's only 24 runes, or there's only 24 of these runes cards that I have. So, you know, there's only so many messages that we could get. They're oracles, so I don't really choose a lot of them. I could choose two for us if I need to, but oh, one has come out already on its own. And that's the one I'm gonna go with because there's way too many on the floor here. But I would say breaking free, going for it, and not being fearful, right? Going against the grain or breaking tradition and taking risks. There's abundance in taking risks usually. All right, so Kaunas, this is kind of like you being aware of your capabilities, you being aware that you are the one that is going to, you know, take the lead. You have to take the lead, right? No one is going to grab your hand and have you do the thing that you do. You are the only one that's going to be able to step up, you know, to life and get going. It is talking about growth. It is talking about opening yourself up to the possibilities. It is talking about being inspired and seeing that you have that inspiration to sort of guide you and navigate you, right? Through to kind of keep you encouraged and keep you like, you know, on your game. right? So this is kind of getting on your game, keeping on your game, that type of thing, right? It's a good card, and it is Aries season, and this is a very Aries card, okay? Which is our seventh house. All right, and the sun is there right now. And the sun in the seventh house is actually in a debilitated place, but for Libra risings, your seventh house is actually where the sun really likes to be, right? So that's why our focus is always on relationships with us, because Aries is actually the seventh house, and that's where the sun likes to be. Whoa! So we just so happen to be benefiting from that in some kind of way. Let's look at the anxieties. Okay, it's not that bad. It's not bad at all, right? I like this card. And it goes back to what I was saying about the Nine of Pentacles, right? Focusing on yourself. And this is talking about focusing on yourself too. Taking rest, getting repose, you know. This is anxieties or hopes and fears, you know what I mean? So it's just kind of like the things, the perils of being you, you know, that's kind of like what this position talks about, and just kind of like how that affects you. So it goes back to the moon too, usually with the anxieties for me. Um, and it just is kind of like what you may have been focused on before, right? It's kind of like thinking about what others might need. Your impulse is to think about what other people might need, desire, or want from you. Okay, because this is a Libra card, but it's a four, so it's talking about how you might be, what your impulse is, right? How you are compelled to do things innately. Okay, but then it's also a force where it's related to the fourth house of Cancer, you know, out of your need to nurture this type of energy, or this type, it gives you something. You know, the fours are very strong because they're very set. So this is kind of like the way that you are, we are. So we're having to kind of like push past the discomfort of like only focusing on ourselves, or not really considering the opinions or the thoughts of others, because this is kind of like, this card refers back to the Emperor, but then also the King of Swords, which is Aquarius, and Uranus is the esoteric ruler of Libra. So the change, right? Bam. I'm actually going to consider what I now know, right? Because, you know, Aquarius is talking about knowledge, but Jupiter is also talking about knowledge and truth as well. So this is like the resolute truth, okay? It's like, I can't deny this. I can't deny myself, right? And you have to make sure that you are good psychologically, right? You know, we have to nurture our confidence. And you know, the fours are talking about confidence, and it's talking about, they're talking about ego to a degree, and they're talking about drive. Okay, so we have to nurture that for ourselves, because it's a four. Okay, confidence, which is, you know, Jupiter's pretty confident, and Aquarius does talk about celebrating those things about yourself that make you different. So this card is talking about celebrating yourself and realizing, understanding who you are aside from all of the other social connections that you may have. Because Aquarius is talking about the tribe and who I belong to and where's my group, and this is saying like, yes, that is that's great, but knowing what you are and who you are and what you're going to bring to that group is important first before you find the group. right? So this is good. Like, don't have anxieties about being detached right now because there's purpose behind that, you know, right? It's good to connect with people and talk to people, but you don't need to think like other people. There is that's why our heads aren't convertible, right? I can be like, "Can I have your brain?" You don't need to be doing all that. Be you. All right. Let's look at that Mars position. Ooh. All in one. That's really going to be the Libra full moon video's name. I'm not really naming these for April. I'm just giving the sign, their month, the year, and Providence Tarot. Which, I don't know. Providence might just be Providence. Okay? Ace of Pentacles in the Mars position. Mars rules the first house. This is a 1. It's an ace. This is realizing where the opportunity is that you can grab, right? It's grabbing the opportunity. It's the moment that the opportunity becomes a reality for you, for us. The aces are talking about how you are connecting to what is available, right? How you acknowledge. And this is talking about us acknowledging some reality, getting started acknowledging a reality or the new normal, right? So make the adjustments now so that we can get into this new normal. And I'm not talking about like, oh, okay, I'm at home and I'm like, I'm not going out that much and I'm shopping, once or twice a week. It's like that too. But then what about like the bills, right? What about like financial assistance? What about new jobs? What about making money for yourself? Because this is in a Mars position and it's an ace. So, what are the ways that you can pull in, that you can make things possible? Because the aces are talking about possibilities as well, right? But then you get into that too, and you're talking about something that is actually probable, not just possible, right? Because a probability is getting you further, right? Now we can probe a little bit more. We've gotten some distance out of this. So we need to get some distance out of the beginning of processing things, of doing things too, because it's like doing things. So this is kind of doing those things that matter, right? Do the things that are important right now, right? That are the most important, which I feel like and that's hey, that's a colorful, not colorful, but that's a multifaceted, multi-layered thing because everything is important, right? That's what Virgo teaches us, you know, and that's in the sun position, right? Venus and Virgo, because that's what's going to keep you balanced, like doing a little bit of everything but making sure that the most important things are getting done. But you don't have to just be doing those because everything is important. It's important to listen to some music every day. It's important to maybe like update yourself up to what you can handle psychologically and emotionally on what's going on in the news. It's good to like um maybe go out and get that coffee that day instead of just making it at home. That'll be like what it's good to some certain things for yourself. You don't have to just do everything that's very serious important, but do what is important for sure. You know what I mean? I don't want to like take everything away from you. In your Venus position, you have the 7 of Swords. And the 7 of Swords is, listen, if you don't know the truth about something, then you yearning to know the truth and knowing that you may not get it doesn't it is it's gonna be good for you to just like continue to try to consider what it is. Just be good with what you know and move on. And what's funny is that the card that popped out for us tonight is a 7. It's the Chariot. Moving forward, taking what we know, wisdom, everything we know, and being guided by that, right? Because I have no choice. 7. But then also impulsively, I don't. I don't have a choice, right? It's a Cancer. Cancer's the 4th house, sorry, but that's a 7. You know, and sometimes the 7s are talking about judgment, right? Resolution, conclusions, because the 7s do talk about conclusions. 7 days concludes the week, right? On the 7th day, right? 7th day Adventist. So, you know, the 7s are very sacred. So, this came up, bam, this was the first message that we got. It was like, okay, just out of the sacredness of you evolving and you changing and you pushing past all of the things that may have hurt you, that have kind of like you felt like they were holding you back or getting in the way of you just kind of like be emotionally healing or healing emotionally from the past. You know, it's kind of like you don't really have time for that. We don't really have room for that. You know, you have other things to do. You know, Cancer is the mother. She does have other things to do. I can't be sitting here, you know, crying over the kids and crying over the husband and crying over the family and, you know what I mean? Or, and just kind of like not doing what I feel like I want to do too, right? Because I'm trying to nurture the experience that I'm having with other people for other people, and I need to nurture my own. So that's what this is talking about, you know? Know what you know, right? Just move on, right? And this is the moon in Aquarius, okay? My mom actually is in that fam. But moon in Aquarius, okay, so the moon wants to connect and it wants to relate, just kind of like Libras do, but they want to connect and relate emotionally. Okay, and this is saying that I want to relate emotionally, but the only way that I can relate and connect to you emotionally is if I know the truth. And it's kind of like, well, you may actually never know all of the truth. So you just have to count your losses and keep it moving. You know, because this is also a card of emotional detachment, too. Because it's a 7, so it's related to the 7th house and Libras and air sign. Okay? But then this is also um, Aquarius, right? But then the Chariot rules the Knights. So this card to me refers back to the Knight of Swords, which is Gemini. So that's detachment, right? We've got all the air signs right there. What do you know? What do you need to know? What don't you need to know? What don't you care about knowing? What do you think you already know? Right? Because you probably already know. That's why, you know, the Chariot is it's pretty intuitive. It's pretty wise. It knows. So like you don't need to keep asking yourself questions about things that you already know. Right? All right, Lady Libra. You better have those risings. That sun and that rising. Um. All right. So, being that that is there, now it's time to choose a Romance Angels Oracle card from the Doreen Virtue deck. Okay. So now we're on the Romance Angels Oracle card because we've gotten to the point of Venus, right? And she came up and she's crossing here. Yeah. So communication, information, right? Don't be waiting for that information. You know what I mean? Whatever. Sometimes I just tell myself, yeah, it's that. Just so I can be like, get over it. You know, because if it's not that, then I'm still feeling some kind of way about feeling like I might be being lied to or I may not know the truth. So just because I'm feeling like I'm feeling like that, right? I'm uncomfortable now because I think you have the potential to do this. And I was talking about probabilities, and it's like, well, it probably is that anyway, right? Just don't be running from their intuition. That's why Libra squares Cancer. Because Libra, I feel like, is intuitive, but it's like they're going against it because then they feel conflicted within that sense, right? But then it's almost kind of like logic, because Cancer has given us the intuition, but Libra's giving us the logic. So it's like, don't go against that logic, just like a Cancer wouldn't go against their intuition. And the sevens are talking about logic. It's only logical that I move forward. It's only logical that I see myself changing from this, because it's like, why would I let my dealings with someone keep me in that place that I'm still dealing with it? Right? And it feels like that. That I roll, right? It's just crazy. Okay, here we go. Allow your heart and soul to sing with joy. Let me choose another one. This is a great one, you know? And let me just elaborate on it, because I'm not trying to choose another one just because, like, I feel like it's not a good one. It was just because, like, it was the one that was the most exposed. And sometimes I've just been going with that lately. I'm like, that one's showing more. And I just choose it. But this talks about the passion that you have for yourself, right? Because it's your heart and it's your soul, right? And your heart is very much related to that energy of Leo, right? Your soul is very much related to that energy of like Scorpio and Pisces, you know what I mean? And even Cancer, that watery energy, right? Um, so, yes, it's kind of like just being passionate and unapologetic about the parts and the elements and the different sides of yourself that feel intensely, right? Because sometimes we are afraid of our own intensity, right? And it's the saying, go with your passions, what you're passionate about, right? You do have the Empress covering the Nine of Cups being here. The Chariot is a pretty passionate card, right? The Temperance is here, but its passions are being tested, right, and challenged. It's like, can I remain passionate about, uh, you know, commitments, whatever they are? Can I remain passionate about these beliefs? Am I remaining passionate about these beliefs? Am I still passionate about this? You know, things change, and they need to. Because if they never did, then we might just be stuck with nighttime all the time, or daytime all the time, or it might rain all the time and never stop. You know what I mean? So we need change, and as individuals too. All right. Let's look at your future cards now. I don't want to go too far. Okay, I'm still under an hour. Outcome energy moving forward. Ace of Rods. Great beginnings. Potential being noticed, potential being seen, potential being observed, right? It's opportunity as well, right? Because opportunity is potential, and potential is opportunity, right? So it's the recognition that it's the right time to do something, because I'm in the moment. Every moment is the right time, you know. If you don't gotta, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready, that type of thing. That's what this talks about. And being that this is in the Mars position and this is in the Venus position, right? This is saying, like, don't let something get in the way of you achieving or receiving blessings, right? And this is saying, like, bam, see it for what it is, right? You like that saying? I like that one too. Great, love it. Ace of Rods, outcome energy moving forward. High Priestess in the future. Okay, this is a Pisces. And if you want to go on a deeper level, it could be Cancer, right? So there's healing happening here for sure. There's emotional healing here. There's psychological and mental, right? Healing, trying to achieve some sort of like foresighted balance, foundation, trying to bring things to this sense of like clean slate, tabula rasa, right? Um, now I can begin again. I'm starting to see change, and now I'm feeling satisfied because I'm feeling change, on a spiritual level, right? And I'm freeing myself. I'm letting go. I'm releasing some part of me. I'm giving some part of me up to discover a new part of me. Yeah, a new side of me. Or maybe I'm not giving something up. Maybe I'm just open. Maybe I'm just opening up another part of me. Maybe I don't have to give it up, right? Maybe that song was wrong. That song got to give it up. Anyway, but yeah, maybe you're just unveiling something, right? And it's funny because the sun and the moon in esoteric astrology are veiling planets. So when you look at this is Neptune, and Neptune is the esoteric ruler of Cancer, but Cancer's exoteric ruler is the moon. So it's like moon veiling Neptune. It's like there's something else about the self that is meant to be discovered on a deeper level. And no one can really touch that, because it's spiritual, soul level. So let's look at the card that's at the very top, which is the ascendant position in this reading. And then I'm going to choose a card from the Keepers of the Light Oracle deck by Kyle Gray. Whew, boy, I was like, I don't know what that's gonna be, and I was kind of getting scared, but I'm okay. We're okay. Good. Page of Rods, right? We talked about potential. Okay, we talked about encouragement, confidence, enthusiasm. Also, spiritedness, being ready, astuteness, okay? Being ready to learn this new way of self. And that's what this announcement is. What is happening to me, right? Based off what I have learned, what have I understood about myself that is new? What am I newly understanding about myself that is going to be what I take with me as I move forward and I thrive and I continue to thrive? And this is thriving in a new way because it's a page of rods and the fire signs are pretty, thrilling, right? So it's talking about thriving. But it's also saying that learning to thrive in this new way as well, because the pages are in learning processes, because they're ruled by the world, right? Which they're ruled by Saturn. So Saturn is giving you things that you can take with you. Saturn is like, oh yes, you can take this with you while you're learning and while you're growing and while it's working with you. Because Saturn is working with you. It's your boss for life. You know? um, so you're being worked with. This is good. I'm going to post this because these cards are ridiculous. Like getting, what? The Chariot, and then the Nine of Cups, and then the Empress, and then the Hierophant. Okay? And then we started getting some, oh, I got the book in my hand, honey. And then we started getting some, look, it's me. And then we started getting some minor arcana cards, right? The Nine of Pentacles came up, then the Two of Pentacles, then we got the Four of Swords, but then Ace of Pentacles. There's a lot of major arcanas here with the Chariot, the High Priestess, the Temperance, the Empress, the Hierophant, So there's some strong, loud messages here. Libra full moon happening. I hope you guys are excited. And gals. And them and theys. And theirs and ours and us's. gorgeous. Cloak of Wisdom. Kutumi or Kutumi. You already know the answer you seek. Didn't I tell you? Sorry. I'm like, didn't I tell you? Us, we already know the answers that we seek. We're questioning something, thinking about it, wanting to know for sure. But we know. And that comes in many different forms. Not just that one question you might be thinking I'm talking about, but the many questions that you have. Trust what you know. And I said that. Trust what you know already and not try to reach for what you feel like you want to know for further. Trust what you already know. Because when you trust what you already know, you may not need the extra information. And I'm not saying like trust what you know about corona. No, you need to know all the information you need to know about that. I'm just saying like in a relationship in particular because this card came up in the Venus position. So if you're asking yourself questions about someone and you feel uncomfortable about them, I can't tell you how many times people come to me for readings that end up basically being love readings and the way that they're acting in the reading and the questions that they have for the person. And I'm not making fun. I'm just saying this is literally what happens. And are we gonna be together? And it's like, but look at how you're acting. And this person isn't like, take a breath. It's like that type of thing. Trust what you already know. And if I know the person makes me feel like this, then I know that it's not meant for me. Us, them. See what I mean? Trust what you already know. I think that's it, Libra. And I did go over an hour just a little bit by like a minute, but I was pretty good. 60 minutes plus. Like, share, and subscribe. Comment. Follow me on Instagram. It's Providence Tarot. My personal account is NYC Kendrick. I have a couple more there. It's okay. You can always go back and watch. The other two accounts that I have on, thank you, love you so much, on IG are Kendrick NYC, which is kind of like just scenes from around the city, right? I'm not really in most of those. I changed the account. And I have a food account. It's called The Tongue Pop. So you can go to that too. I haven't really posted a lot on that account recently, but there's lots of photos on there for you to see and things that I've made. And I posted one thing that my mother made, which was like around Christmas time, and it was a dessert because she does a lot of desserts. I don't really do a lot of desserts. I do a lot of food, but she cooks food too. Anyway, I'm doing a 2020 special. It's 20 minutes for $20 if you want to get a personal reading. If you want that to be, a big focus on astrology, we can do that too. But, astrology chart readings take a lot of time. And the reading would just sort of like be referring to astrology based on where I knew your first house was. I wouldn't go too much into like any really hard aspects, but let's keep it on the tarot level with astrological, punctuations in it. But it's 20 minutes for $20. And you can email providencetarotkendrick@gmail.com. Oh, thank you. Wait, this one right here. This one is funny because another Libra that I dated for about 2.5 years gave it to me. And that was like one of the most traumatic relationships I've ever been in. But they gave me this at the end of it when we were moving. Like, you want this? I was like, oh my God, yes. And you're giving it to me, honey? Yes, I need this. But they were Scorpio moon and Aries rising, and I live for all of those signs. Yes, that was a crazy time. It was when I first, started Providence, with a friend of mine, Dale. You know him, probably some of you. And I was dating this person, and wow. When I tell you so much, well, so we can go. I can do a whole video on that like another day, but we won't bring that energy into this reading because this was a great reading. Yes. But definitely get those readings. 20 minutes for $20. Email providencetarotkendrick@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram. All of those names I just gave. And if you would like to donate to the channel, I'm going to leave that information in the description box below. And check that out too. Yes. Talk to you guys later. Bye. So glad I did this.